Tenorio and Alderwoman Grisham, who are excused. First order of business is approval of minutes of March 1st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been
Chairman,
moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Matters for discussion. Item 2, presentation and discussion of options to mitigate persistent structural deficit. Ms. Grill.
Yeah, Rebecca Grill, I'm the city administrator. We've talked over the past few years, and probably longer than I've been here, of the challenges for municipal finance and affording the services. And I just wanted to go over some of the remaining options that the city has to help mitigate the structural deficit without cutting services drastically. So I have 12 different options. Just because the items are on there does not mean that we're suggesting that you adopt them. It's just, we just want to bring it to your attention that these are the things that we could work with. Let's see. So as you know, there's an over-reliance on property taxes to pay for municipal government. Wisconsin is the 7th among states that's most reliant on property taxes. Most of the other states use sales taxes to fund their governments. And then we have the levy limits. There's been a lot of referendums in the years listed there. 31 municipalities have passed that. I believe there's been a lot more since 2017. And then the policy forum was reviewing police and fire budgets, and they've had to be reduced in those 2 years and in subsequent years. So just, we're not the only ones in this boat. You all know that. These are the challenges: the over-reliance on the property taxes, our taxpayer financial limitations. We have the streetlight conversion, facility repairs, maintenance, our aging infrastructure, maintaining our high-quality employees, and then the last two that are imposed on us by the state. You can see here, 65% of our general funded revenues come from property taxes. And then these are the expenditures by category. You can see the 4 different categories. The majority of them went down. Public safety went up, which is consistent with our past experience. I've gone over these challenges pretty often. We've had discussions about the street lights, our facility replacements and things like that, and just talking about expenditure restraint and levy limits. So I didn't think I needed to spend a lot of time on that today, but if somebody who hasn't been aware of the challenges that we have, this will be posted on our website so they can view the videos and look at the information for the future. On the bottom, you can see our replacement cycle. Our water mains, 159-year replacement cycle we're on right now, and the roads are 70. See, these are some of the things that we've done in the past to mitigate our structural deficit. The health insurance changes, elimination of positions. We've been investing a lot in technology, and then we put together the structural deficit work group, and I'll go over that towards the end. There's still some ideas that haven't been reviewed by boards, committees, and commissions yet. So these are the 12 options I want to go through. Can continue to cut staff. We could cut programs, reduce pay benefits, start a transportation utility, do covered services fees, automated garbage collection, joint fire department, referendum, wheel tax, a FEMA SAPER grant, intergovernmental services, and then the structural deficit work group ideas. The first option is continue to cut positions. In 2022, you are familiar with what we had to do with the positions. We had to actually lay off 9 people last year to make our budget limitations. Since 2017, we went from 580 benefited positions down to 544. These are the departments from 2017 to 2022, the reductions. There's some that have increased minimally, but you can see Public Works and the Water Department have taken the brunt of the cuts in the city. In the past 6 years, we had to cut an average of 6 positions per year, but we've done that, in my opinion, with minimal service impact to the public. Things such as adjusting our hours here, having the customer service center. There's some people that has an impact on, but it's minimal amount of people. This is cutting 6 positions a year is not sustainable unless there's a cut to a program that's not required by the state or federal government. And they also have a negative impact on retention of employees, especially newer employees. The second option would be cut programs. We are a full service city. Residents have high expectations for quality, timely service. Again, I think staff's done an outstanding job of helping out other departments, cross-training to minimize impact on service delivery. We have to realize, though, that not all of our staff are engaged in or supporting statutory services. So those would be the ones that you would have to look to. And just because I have these listed here doesn't mean these are the ones I'm suggesting that you limit, but I'm just providing some examples. The city of West Allis plows alleys. Other municipalities do not do that. We used to have dental services. We did recently, the person retired, so we're no longer doing that. The library does provide book delivery to people who are homebound. There's little things like that, but there's also some bigger things that are not statutory. So those are some examples. An alternative to cutting the programs is looking at delivering them in a different manner, either using different staff or community partners. And then there's more ideas about that in the structural deficit work group. Any questions on the cutting positions or programs? Okay. The next is the recommendation to cut or reduce pay and benefits. In some cases, our benefits still are a draw. They're probably more of a retention tool for the people that are here, especially when people become vested in the pension. Before 5 years, there's probably a higher chance of them leaving, but the vesting comes at 5 years. We have a lot of competition with the private sector, but a lot with the public sector. We seem to be stealing each other's employees all the time. As you know, we're going through the Great Resignation. In the state of Wisconsin, there's a 2.9% unemployment rate, which is lower than the average in the United States. I think it's 3.4. And then only 62.3% of the people either have a job or want a job. The average tenure for local government is 6.6 years. And the separation statistics we have for 2020 to 2021, you can see the type of separation. The most we've had are retirements, but resignations are up there pretty high. Public Works and Police are the departments that are bearing the most of those. And then the highest by position, the truck driver and the patrol officer and the dispatchers. So, any questions about reducing pay or benefits?
Yeah, I would like to, Mr. Chair, referring on employees that they reach over 65, it seems like a lot of them, they continue to carry on the city insurance, which does cost, the premium is a lot higher. So if they go with Medicare at 65, I'm talking about, and then get a supplemental insurance, I mean, I don't pay any money monthly, really, I don't. I mean, I paid $120 some to Medicare, and that's it. Then, like I say, most of my prescriptions are covered, you know. If you go to the hospitals, I mean, you pay for the first 3 days, I think it's $280, you know, per day. Then after that, you don't pay nothing anymore. So, to me, I think it's very costly at the present time. I believe that the one they are 65, they still are insured within our city here.
We can't tell people or pay people to go on Medicare or
if they
Medicare
retire,
Advantage
I'm saying that
program.
if-
But
if-
when they retire,
They reach the age of 65, whether they leave early, you know, they leave, say, the age of 57 or 58, that's fine, you know, I mean, I don't want to deprive them from that. But once you reach 65, why we should continue to keep them on the insurance, you know?
at this point, anyone that starts, or anyone, I don't know what the year was, you don't have health insurance past age 65 when you retire.
You
But
don't have it anymore?
no.
I mean, we
For
passed it.
newer people, or, I don't know, was 2008 or 2013, I'm not sure which year. But you have to work here at least 15 or 20 years, depending upon when you started. So we don't provide that post-65. The ones we do, we're required to because those are the contracts that they retired under.
Okay, good.
And we do have quite a substantial savings because we use the Medicare Advantage program.
Yeah,
We saved millions of dollars by moving,
I'm moving that, right?
yes, specifically because of the drug spend,
Yes.
so.
Mr. President,
Hold on, wait a minute.
just real quickly, big picture. Is it still about 85% people, payroll, benefits? That's about,
It was 85 last year, or was it more, 86 or 87?
Yeah, so close to 90%.
is where we're spending our money. So if we're looking for where we're gonna save money,
Yeah, people.
you look to see
Right.
where you're spending. And in this environment, I think the idea of trying to shave what we're paying in the individual is not sensible. Because we're gonna have real turnover, we're gonna have real retention issues, which means that we have to look at having fewer people to pay.
Right,
I think that's the hard choice that we're looking at here, unfortunately. We're also going online, we're modernizing, computerizing, but we're still in that spot where we have a lot of our residents, customers that aren't fully integrated with doing stuff online. So we have the expense of adding the efficiencies of automation, but we still have these legacy costs of still providing pen and paper services for a lot of people.
yeah.
And I guess I'm just wondering when we're expecting to be, will there be a day, someday it's like, yeah, you have to pay your water bill online? Or,
Well, for example, for the license renewals, we're making people do it online, but if they can't do it online, they can come in here and we can help them.
and I understand when we're talking about businesses, even, I would expect that even the smallest business owner, has a proficiency of using computers. I guess I can't, I'm trying to imagine somebody who doesn't.
Yeah.
Or at least couldn't have an employee do it or have some, so I'm glad to hear that. So, like I said, I think the hard fact is we have to look at the number of people who work for us.
Yeah, we have done a lot by having the customer service center here. We've cut, I mean, in the clerk's office alone, we've cut 2.5 people. So, I mean, we've been able to realize some savings already
But
with
that's
the
just, that's
technology.
2 jobs we saved this year.
Right.
But we're not gonna
Each
save
year-
another 2
yeah,
jobs next year,
exactly.
right?
It doesn't continue. So to your point of we can't cut pay and benefits, this page shows all the things that we've had to do to keep people in the last couple of years. And, yeah, the labor market is crazy.
Well, and then the
So-
other thing is, and I've said this before, is that one of the things that working a municipal job offered was security. Most people knew, if I got a job with the city or the county or the state, I could get in and I could get a job, I'm gonna be there 20, 30, 40, whatever the number of years is. But honestly, I don't see in today's employees, my 4 children, adult grown children in the 25 to 30 years old, none of them expect to be working at the same place they're working at today, in 5 years.
Right,
If you ask them, no, Pop,
Yep.
I'm gonna be working somewhere else. And that's, so, one of the things that we offered is no longer valuable to the workforce. So
Correct.
we have to find another solution.
right.
Mr. Chair, to that point, but you cut 5, 6 people this year, and then 5, 6 people next year, and then
5, 6
you
people.
don't have a department.
Right?
Right.
So
Or
we
you
do
have
need to-
one person
Yeah.
taking on a lot of work, getting burnt out really quickly, or even if
Yeah.
it's 2 people. I mean, we can all think about jobs where you were just burnt out and miserable. So it's hard to keep
We have to look
that
at the
work-
revenue side,
Yeah,
you know,
that
whether
work-life
it's
balance.
the levy limits, the state,
Right.
we are, you know.
We're gonna get to more of the ideas, but if you want.
I just wanted to kind of paint
Yeah.
what I see as the big
Yeah,
picture.
these first three things, I don't believe, personally, I don't think we should entertain them at all, except maybe the program,
A
but,
few programs.
yeah. The first option for alternative for revenues is a transportation utility fee. For the city of West Allis, this would not gain us a lot of capacity under the level, it would be, or under the levy. It would be a lot of staff savings, mailing out for all of the special assessments, letting people, having the hearings, having the complaints, doing the billing, things like that. Right now, we have one person that's involved in that, and, you know, if we would pursue this, that's a possibility that that position could be reassigned, or through attrition, we could eliminate the position. There also is some work, I believe, in finance or the treasurer's office dealing with special assessments. I'm looking at Jason. Yeah, in the treasurer's office, so they do a lot of work with that. Not that we could necessarily cut a position, but would open them up to do maybe some other financial work. It's a transportation utility fee is based on trips, and it's on the type of category your business is. So if you're like a manufacturer of something, you're gonna have a much higher rate than a residence and things like that. So it's actually a real charge according to your use of the roads. And it also includes all property owners. So if we use it for more than special assessments, it's possible that we would have a loss of our transportation aids from the state of Wisconsin.
That's bad.
So
In how many cities in Wisconsin do this kind of thing?
it's becoming more popular. I didn't know, is it like 3 or 5 now,
Just,
maybe?
yeah, maybe a handful right now.
We're all grasping at straws now, so we have to take the opportunities here. So yeah, it is a newer thing. But I think it might be worthwhile as far as just saving some of the money and just saving the whole process time. But it will be something that you really would have to educate the public on. And I got a quote from R.A. Smith on, they would help us implement this and start the trip calculation, how we would do that. The quote was, I think, $61,000 for them to help us do that. So the first year or two, we won't really be saving much. The option 5 is for covered service fees. So there's, let's see, 4 fees that you could, instead of paying for them through the tax levy, you could charge a fee for them. Usually these are collected on water bills, quarterly or
Yeah, the city
monthly.
of Milwaukee, is that how they do it?
right now, I believe part of our recycling is done through a fee, but not completely, and our garbage is not either. Then you could do a fire protection fee. We'll have a little more on that after I go through the rest of this. Snowplow fee and the street maintenance fee. So what happens if you implement these fees is you have to reduce your levy limit by the amount that the cost of service was in 2013. So that gives you some capacity between, because obviously things are a lot more expensive than they were in 2013. One of the benefits is that it's assessed to all properties instead of just, residential and commercial. It includes nonprofits, other taxing entities like state fair, the school district, things like that. And any increases to the service going forward would be outside of the levy. And you would determine how we would calculate it. I think in the city of Milwaukee for their snow and ice fee, they calculate the residential as the frontage. And if you have a corner lot, it doesn't matter, they take the shortest. But for the commercial properties, you have to pay for all sides. So could do different calculations.
And for these options, we don't know the fees associated that we would have to charge to compensate at this time, right? This is more of, these are the options, should we explore?
Right,
this, that, or the
yeah,
other?
we would have to go through, likely the cost would go down overall. I mean, obviously the taxes would go down a little, but even if you combine the fee and the taxes, they'd still be less for the public. But yeah, we would have to definitely dig in a little bit further. And there's additional considerations for the fire protection fee that Cal is gonna go over.
So for all those fees, the garbage recycling fee, snowplow fee, street maintenance fee, there's actually authority in the state laws very clearly for those things. So this is a levy limit adjustment, and all those fees qualify for that levy limit adjustment, but you still need authority for how you implement the fee. The fire protection fee is a little unique in that we would actually be using a part of the city laws that say that cities can do anything a town can do, because there's no authority within the city laws saying that a fire protection fee is allowed, but there is authority within the town laws that says that, and it's well supported by recent case law. So there would be a little bit of a legal argument to be made in order to draw those together. I think it's a solid legal argument, and I think there would be, I think a court would find that the city can do this based on that law within Chapter 62. But it's not quite as clear as garbage, snow plowing, and other things where there's a clear section within Chapter 62 that says that.
But out of those four, that is probably the most attractive and easiest to explain to the public and the most beneficial over several years for the city.
Yeah, so just rough estimates based on lawyer math, so big caveat there, big caveat. But, so if the fire department costs $14 million and that's their budget for the year, that fire protection fee, if we would switch so that, let's say you're just deciding that based on your acreage that you own, you pay the same rate based on your acreage. Well, as we've heard from Pete in his excellent presentations, 28% of the city is non-taxed, which means that 72% of the city is actually paying taxes. So if you take that number and you extrapolate that out, that's a 33% decrease in taxpayer cost. And that money instead is paid by the entity that was not paying taxes. So to make the math especially easy, let's assume $15 million for the fire department. You switch to a fire protection fee, $5 million of that is paid by non-taxed entities. Only $10 million is paid by taxpayers. That's a huge decrease in the taxpayer bill.
But you could use different calculations,
It would have to
whatever.
be acreage, it could be.
It could be all kinds of ways. The city would be able to determine how that fee is attributed based on the law in Chapter 60. And like I said, I'm just throwing out rough numbers on this one. So it could be all kinds of financial impacts depending on that formula that the council would have.
Rebecca, just real quickly, other communities are doing garbage recycling fees, snow plowing, and street maintenance fees already. We already see this
Yeah.
in our neighboring communities and statewide.
Right.
And then the fire protection fee would be a completely new thing. in the
I
state.
believe there might be a couple
A couple little towns are
municipalities.
doing it.
It's actually fairly common among small towns.
Okay, okay.
The smallest towns, a lot of them do this, actually.
What's a town we might have heard of that's doing it?
Well, the town I'll point to is the town of Horde in Clark County. So I point to it because that's
That was the one,
It's a
case
court
law.
case.
that was the case law, so.
You know, is Rochester, Wisconsin doing that? They got a volunteer fire department out there, so.
I don't know for sure. I believe actually the cities of Sheboygan and Hartford also impose some level of fire protection fee. So from what I've informally talking to other city attorneys around the state, it's not, we wouldn't be the first to try
Good.
this. But I don't know to what extent they've done it for so long that I don't know if, they probably had it implemented before this case came out even. So I don't know if there would be any legal challenges to it. Frankly, I think legal challenge to it would be very difficult because the statutes line up pretty nicely.
And the garbage recycling fee, we wouldn't be picking up any nonprofits that aren't, we're not really providing that for nonprofits. But the snow plowing fee and the street maintenance fee, then we would be getting these non-taxed parcels chipping in, so there would be a benefit there.
Yeah.
But
I
the
don't
dollar
know,
amounts are so different that the
yeah.
fire protection fee is really where we'd see a benefit.
And do you know
I'm
what,
not-
what was the 2013 levy for street maintenance or snow plowing?
I don't know that are able to extrapolate those easily. I
Yes,
can,
so the benefit to the city would really come from increased levy capacity because the 2013 expense is what is capped. So if you collect more revenue than what you cost in 2013, that's where the benefit is for the city.
Yeah.
To try to divvy out snow plowing or street maintenance, to get just that number and capture that expense from 2013 would be a financial challenge. I'm not sure how you do it, but the fire protection fee would be a pretty simple calculation because they have a separate budget.
yeah. I think the snow plowing might be somewhat easy, because I think you do your payroll by snow events.
As long as there's enough historical data that we can go back to, because that's a lot of years now. that we're-
Yeah. To 2013.
Right.
Hopefully it didn't snow much in 2013.
You have a forensic accountant.
We have the, the snow account that we have,
Okay.
where we're charging labor, so that,
Okay, yeah, so that might be the other one, but as far as street maintenance and garbage and recycling, those are gonna be a little more challenging.
And even if you have the coding for the employees doing snow plowing, it's not gonna account for administrative costs or other things that are more just,
Right.
with the general operation of public works, whereas in the fire department, that cost is nicely boxed into a single item on the agenda, or on the budget.
The only thing, and I didn't talk to you about this, would be I don't know if there's a portion of the dispatch that you would allocate to them, to that too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we
at
could
least
do,
you're starting from one number and you're subtracting as opposed to trying to add, which is a
Yeah.
little tougher.
so. The fire protection is pretty appealing here. Then the automated garbage collection, if you're wanting us to go look more into this, I don't have exact numbers. I wasn't able to find anything for a city of our size. Some of the smaller municipalities estimated like $105,000 savings, but they're like 10 or 15,000 population, so it's not really apples to apples. But everyone says that there's increased efficiency and that you have salary savings. There's a reduction of injuries, so you have less workers' comp, less lost time, less insurance. There are some possible issues with alley collection. There are municipalities that do collect in alleys. There's an initial capital investment that is a little more expensive. Those vehicles are more expensive than a regular truck.
So they're not an addition to the truck, so like they're not an add-on?
I don't believe,
They're not an add-on to the truck? This will be a whole new vehicle?
it's
right,
approximately 350, 400,000. A normal refuse or a recycling packer is about 250,000. So,
And we can't retrofit our old trucks. The old trucks are rear
Right.
not side.
And we couldn't plow with these either?
Nope.
Yeah, so there's that investment, and then there's, from what I was reading, you have to have a
Yeah.
specialized knowledge for repair and maintenance. So there's an unknown savings to this. There might be an initial higher cost to implement. Then the Joint Fire Department, you're familiar with this. I just provided the details that you're aware of. We're gonna have when we go into closed session, we'll be talking a little bit more about the current opportunities for that. This one, the levy limit increase referendum, like I said, these are all the options. We're not recommending anything. If the voters approve of a exception or an increase to the levy limit, there's 3 types. It could be a 1 year, an ongoing, or for a set number of years. It has to be done with certain timing that's listed there. And I don't know why that bottom note is not correct, because that's changed. So there is a referendum option here. And then there's the annual vehicle registration fee, also known as a wheel tax. There's a lot of municipalities that have implemented that. The state doesn't say how much it has to be, or the limit. They just say you have to use it for transportation related purposes. So here, 32 cities and villages use it, ranges between $15 and $40. The city of Milwaukee has the $30, Milwaukee County has a $30, so if it would be implemented here, people are already paying the $30 for Milwaukee County. And right now, we have a little over 32,000 vehicles registered in West Allis, so you could see the revenue that would be generated based on the amount per vehicle.
If I may, I think that make, Mr. Chair, a good sense, because in many parts of the world that I'm fully aware, there is cars, they pay up to $300 for the license plates. So we're not doing too bad here if we raise it $30, $40, really. I mean, to me, that's a good way to go, you know.
This would also be an option to replace the time-intensive special assessment process. It also wouldn't really add a lot of staff time. The state collects it and they just pay us.
Send you a check.
A downside I already mentioned is the county already has a $30 wheel tax. And if we wanted to replace our special assessments, we'd have to do a $40 wheel tax. So, and then it is only assessed to vehicle owners. There's no impact for commercial properties and vehicles. So that's the difference between the transportation utility that's really focused on the people using the roads. This is just focused on people who own the vehicles.
So if I'm
So
understanding,
commercial oh, sorry, go ahead.
I want to see if I'm understanding that there's already 30 with the county. So if we did 40, it would be 70 additional dollars for West Dallas residents.
So in the city of Milwaukee right now,
40
they pay
additional, it's
60.
30
Yeah.
already.
40
Yeah.
additional, so it would equate to next,
Yep.
if we passed it today,
Right.
next year would be $70
Yes,
on top of the 125. Or whatever it is.
I think it's actually 95.
90-something, yeah.
Yeah, because you
95.
have to pay the 30 already.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, so that's,
So you're telling me commercial vehicles do not get charged this? Currently, is that what that's saying?
it says commercial properties.
Okay.
I'm saying,
Commercial properties and vehicles.
right, there's certain limits, I think it was on the previous page, or it's the automobile, and then trucks registered at 8,000 or less. Those are the ones that it applies to.
Okay, so like a semi-truck doesn't pay it, but they pay
separate
differently.
taxes.
Yes, they pay
Yes.
differently.
Yeah, but what if
But
somebody,
we don't get those.
what about
Not really.
people who have like box trucks and stuff for their businesses? Those should be those should be taxed.
Well, is it over 8,000 pounds?
A box truck, come on, over 8,000 pounds.
As I'll just say, we didn't make this law, so
Yeah.
this is what they have in place at the state.
Can we do it?
Can you,
Can
for
we- can
commercial
we-
prep?
Can we do that for commercial vehicles
No,
here?
this is what's allowed by state law, right?
This is what
I
state
don't-
law does, right?
No, this is what we're
This
allowed
is
to
what
do.
Wisconsin law allows.
Yeah, so the section 341.35 of the statutes, it specifically says the city can only impose it for automobile or motor truck at a gross weight of not more than 8,000 pounds. So you're not authorized to tax any vehicles other than those.
Really, the
bigger
bigger the
vehicle.
truck,
Wow.
big trucks get away with no wheel tax.
Yeah, the ones with most
Not the
wheels.
local ones, no.
Yeah,
Because I know there's some business owners here that have big pickup trucks that have their names on the side, and you're telling me they don't get taxed for that?
Well, not for their, not
Not a
for
local wheel tax.
So yeah, like a 1-ton Ford or Chevy, a lot of them can exceed 8,000 pounds.
Okay.
the next option is a FEMA Safer Grant. Mason had shared this with me last week. This supports hiring new or rehiring laid off or retaining firefighters facing layoff. There's no cost share or maintenance of effort for this. There's no maximum award. The caveat is that it lasts for 36 months, so there would not be able to be any staffing changes. You'd have to maintain the same level within the fire department for 36 months.
So if there's any staffing changes, we have to give all the money back?
I don't know
Or is
what
it
the,
prorated?
I haven't looked into that detail.
yeah, I'm not sure how, I'm sure there's some penalty. I don't know what it is.
And the other part of it is once the grant ends, you still have this person, who you
Right.
have to pay for now.
It's like the
Money
cops
for it.
grants,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so then there's always intergovernmental service opportunities. We could do more cost-effective and efficient service with other levels of government through contracts, joint organizations, agreements. You have to be concerned about how that's going to be calculated for a long term, what kind of capital people are bringing, and how you're going to dissolve if you need to walk away from it at some point. I listed some opportunities that we might have with Milwaukee County or other municipalities or the school district. I'm sure there's other things besides that, but just listed some different opportunities, so.
Are we allowed to tax the county for the parks being in our city?
Well, if you would do something with the fees,
Yeah, we could.
they would be one of the,
Fire fee, we could.
Fire fee, you could.
We wait long enough, county might just.
the Milwaukee Mile.
Real estate.
You didn't hear me.
I heard you. Get MM.
Okay, now this is really little wording, but these are the structural deficit work group ideas. I'm really not gonna go that much into detail because we have some other things we need to talk about, but I'll send all of you the presentation. I forget, was it 2 or 3 years ago already, we had this work group. We've had over 200 ideas. A lot of them we've implemented or we're implementing, or we found that they weren't necessarily going to work. These are the remaining ones. Many of them have to do with, the reason they're left over is because I was supposed to put them together and send them like to the library board or the PFC or your different standing committees, and I didn't, so they're, the other ones were a lot easier to implement. These are policy choices, and could potentially be controversial in some cases, so there's 5 different categories. There's a revenue cost recovery category, and then infrastructure, that's like sharing buildings like we've been talking about, or moving different departments to different places. The staffing changes, that's probably more of the controversial things. Reduction or reallocation of positions or responsibilities. There's a lot of those. And then operational is probably another more controversial list of things. So I'll, like I said, I'll send these to you and you could read them at your leisure. But I will also be sending them to the committees and commissions for their review. Oh, and then the last one was the collaboration with external organizations. That's somewhat of a duplicate of the intergovernmental idea. So,
Any questions? I'm sure lots of them. More than we can discuss this evening. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a question, you know,
Alderman
if I may,
Vitale.
Mr. Chair. You know, I will say that it's a first meeting regard all these updates and information. To me, it really makes sense, you know, to at least storm ideas for all of us to digest what could happen in the future, not just tomorrow, you know, in the future. To me, it's a very logical move, really. You cannot just sit staying it, not doing anything, you know?
No,
So that's what I have.
Mr. Chair. At some point, we probably want some input into what we should focus our energies on. This is, while it's future, it's also for 2023. We need to
Right.
get started working on that. We don't have any rabbits to pull out of our hat. These are the things that we need to look into.
Well, I think, yeah, as you look into some of these and as the council members speak with you and share ideas, maybe we can get some more financial information as to what the actual financial impacts would be of some of the more popular
Yeah,
ideas here and hone in on one or two of them.
Yeah, most effective.
yeah. Was waiting to prioritize it because to do it for
Right.
all of them, it would be quite a challenge.
exactly.
So if people are gonna contact me, that'd be great.
Okay, then moving on, items 3, 4, and 5 will be in executive session. Item 3 is discussion of the creation of a joint fire department option under Wisconsin statute 62.13, parent 2M, parent A. Item 4 is deliberating the repair replacement of the public works facility currently located at 6300 West McGee Avenue. And item 5 is discussion regarding status of lease between the city and Aurora West Dallas Medical Center. For these agenda items, the committee of whole may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the investing of public funds or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The committee of the whole may reconvene in open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Is there a motion to go into closed
Motion to
session?
go into closed session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Alderman
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Alderman Spassky. Alderman Weigel.
Aye.
Alderman
Aye.
Roth. Alderman Vitale. Alderwoman Reinke.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keane.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We are now going into closed session.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will call the Common Council meeting to order, and I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Haas.
Here.
Keen. Here. Reinke. Here. Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Excused.
9 present, 1 excused.
Here.
Did we forget our
Oh, I'm
council
sorry,
president?
Isaac. I'm sorry.
You're just assumed.
Yes.
Please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderman Haas.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You will move on to item D on our agendas. We have 2 public hearings this evening, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
Resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of the north-south alley between 113th and Wolmer Road, Ohio Street to Wildwood Lane, and north-south and east-west alley between South 74th to South 75th, West Lapham to West National by removal and reconstruction of concrete alley pavement.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. Okay, this is the public hearing for 2 alleys. Here's the first one, as was just read, from 74th to 75th, north of National. This alley was originally built in 1927, so that concrete that is still there is 95 years old. It was resurfaced in 1981, so that asphalt, the resurfacing is actually 41 years old, so it's a very, very old alley. Here are some pictures. It's in horrible condition. This is no longer something that we can maintain. The next alley is out on the west end, south or west of Wolmer, south of Ohio, in the Morgan Grove area. This alley was built in 1964, so it's 58 years old. It has not been resurfaced, but it's too far gone. We really need to start over with a new concrete alley. This cannot be salvaged, so severe pavement deterioration. This is what the finished product will look like. Brand new concrete alley in both cases. Here are the costs of the project. Got a little problem here, I see. Paving costs, $77,000. Storm sewer work, $79,000. The total is over here, $156,000. The rates are different based on how wide the alley is. So the alley at 74th Street is a 14-foot alley. They're paying the $32.94 per foot, and then the 20-foot alley, they pay $39.63 per alley. The funding, half of the funding is coming from the stormwater fund because we will put in a new storm sewer underneath the alley with an underdrain, new catch basins. That's a large part of the cost. That's a citywide fee, so that's 51%. The special assessments are 33% from the property owners adjacent, and then the general tax fund will pay the remaining 16%. Here's a typical 40-foot lot with the $32.94 per foot. The cost to a typical homeowner is $1,317. I want to point out that the bills would not be mailed out until March of 2023. So over a year from now, and the first payment, if you chose the 10-year plan, would not be till December of 2023, so almost 21 months from now. There are 3 options when you get the bill. You can pay a lump sum, you can go on the 5-year plan, or you can go on the 10-year plan. We do charge interest because we are borrowing the funds for this, and we are paying municipal bondholders interest on the bonds that we're buying. So the city is merely passing along this interest to the residents. We're not making a profit off this interest that we're charging. But for the first year, if you had a $1,317 bill, your first year payment would be $184, and then your 10th year payment would be $137 for the whole year. Why do we special assess? We have been doing it a long time. The state law gives the rationale that the people who live there have a unique benefit from this improvement in front of their property. In the old days, we did actually charge the residents 100% of the cost. In this case, as I said, the residents are paying 33% of the cost. The assessment rate is the same for all residential properties anywhere in the city, so it doesn't matter where you live. Everyone is treated equally. Like I said, it has been a state law for 110 years. There have been over 100 court cases that have upheld this method as a fair and reasonable method for recouping the costs. Special assessments are also a way to ensure that all the tax-exempt properties in the city pay their fair share. So there are tax-exempt schools, churches, charities, hospitals, county parks, utilities, even the railroads are paying their fair share as well. No one is exempt, even though there are 430 properties, which are shown here on this map in the city, that do not pay any property tax. And many of them are very large properties, like county parks, that encompass about 28% of the city that's not paying any taxes. So, and businesses, corporations, and manufacturers pay a higher rate to account for extra traffic that they may have. So they're paying $41 to $59 per foot. This is just a tentative schedule. There are 2 alleys. We're going to go to bid, start advertising for bid on May 13th. We'd have the bid opening on June 1st. We don't get to pick who the contractor is. It will be the low bidder by state law. The common council would probably award the contract on June 7th, and then hopefully the work would begin on one of the 2 alleys in July. We don't know exactly which one would go first, but each one would have its own 25 working day deadline. So you're guaranteed it would be done in 25 days, and so both alleys would hopefully be done by September. The best way to keep up to date on what's happening is to go and sign up for our construction and progress report. We'll send you an email every week. We'll give you a list of everything that's happening this week, who to call, who's the contractor, who's the inspector. All that stuff would be in this report that you would get right to your inbox at home. So I would highly recommend that you go to our website and sign up for this, and you'll be in the know all through the project. So with that, if there's any questions, I entertain those now.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Daniels. Are there any questions on public hearing number 1 by the members of the Common Council? Hearing none, are there any questions on this public hearing by the members of the audience? Okay, then we will close public hearing number 1. And I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 2.
Resolution adopting the vacation and discontinuance of a portion of a public right-of-way of West National Avenue and southwest of South Waukesha Road.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving on. Sorry. So the hearing before us this evening is to vacate or discontinue a small portion of city right-of-way southwest of Waukesha Road, north of Oklahoma Avenue and south of Cleveland Avenue and just east of 124th Street. It's a 60 by 115-foot deep parcel. It's landlocked, fully landlocked. There's no access to this property at all. It's a remnant, I think dating back to about 1973, buried in the woods. We did receive a petition from the abutting landowners, which abut the property on 3 sides, to the west, to the east, and to the south. And they petitioned the city to vacate this parcel or this piece of right-of-way, which would, if vacated, if council would vacate it, would become more or less theirs. It would be split in 2 parts in each direction, to the east and to the west, of which the applicants both own. It is not a buildable lot or piece of land as it sits right now. However, perhaps someday it could be if it were combined with other properties and proper access were provided to it and met zoning requirements. So why proceed? On February 1st, the council directed staff to proceed towards a public hearing. But in terms of being a piece of city right-of-way, One of the reasons, I guess, to vacate it would be to reduce the city's ongoing maintenance liability for this section of unimproved right-of-way. It serves really no public purpose to the city, and it would become a taxable property. This is a closer view of the right-of-way. Again, 60 by 115 feet, and then the property owners around, the common property owner around the three sides of the property. So it was introduced to the council on February 1st. From there, we proceeded to notify abutting property owners, and it was published in the official paper 3 times. And Plan Commission recommended approval in January, and we're before the Common Council tonight for purposes of the public hearing. If there are any additional comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Scher. Are there any questions from the council members on this item? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we will close public hearing number 2. And we will move on to item E on our agendas, which is citizen participation. The council may receive information from members of the public during this period. Each speaker must announce to the council their name and their address and sign in at the podium. We also ask that you limit your comments to one statement of no more than 5 minutes. The council cannot take action on any of these topics raised by the speakers and cannot discuss these topics with the speakers. If anybody wishes to address the council under citizen participation, please approach the podium next to the table with the good-looking guy in the mask.
Good evening. My name is Louis Kowieski, 719 South 97th Street. When I came to vote Monday, I noticed what I thought to be irregularities here. The outside deposit box was being used as a ballot box. I'll pass around 3 pictures that I took. The first one shows the sign where it says City Hall is not open till 11:30. Being that I also came early, I noticed 3 or 4 individuals with more than one absentee ballot in their hands because they're all big and they're all brown. Some of them had 2 and 3, some of them had possibly even 4 absentee ballots in their hands. And they used the depository box as a ballot box. There's been a recent Supreme Court ruling stating there will be no outside ballot boxes where there is no means to check IDs or any other IDs to make sure that those ballots are cast by that individual. When I tried on Monday to cast my wife's absentee ballot, I was told they couldn't accept it. She would have to bring it in by herself. That's when I noticed this doesn't smell right. Okay? So I called around. I called Channel 6. I called a friend of mine that's a news reporter from Channel 6. And he said he's from Germantown, and they taped over their depository box so that they couldn't be used for a ballot box on a ballot day. That way they felt they were within this ruling of the Supreme Court. I also have a picture of Oconomowoc. They taped over their depository box because they interpreted the Supreme Court ruling the same way. No outside ballot boxes. This one isn't even labeled as a ballot box, and citizens were putting in absentee ballots. I asked the assistant city clerk that day, Monday, why is she allowing this? She said, your city attorney advised her that it was legal. Okay. I even talked to the mayor for quite some time. I talked to my alderman. I think this is a bad practice. I really believe it's against the law. The city attorney does not interpret the Supreme Court ruling. He manages it and makes sure that it's followed. How can a city attorney determine that the Supreme Court was wrong? When I talked to him, he thought it wasn't clear. And his interpretation of the law was that that was an arm of the city of City Hall, that it was a ballot box. But when you look at those pictures, and I'm sure when they built the building here, and you put the plate on there, and it states what that box is used for. Nowhere does it say it's used for an absentee ballot box. This day is gone and done. But there's going to be fall elections, more important than even I feel these elections. And if this continued practice is allowed, then I guess the only other recourse is somebody's going to have to bring a lawsuit against the city of West Allis if they feel strongly enough that you are indeed breaking the Supreme Court ruling. I leave that up to your judgment because you guys are the rulers of the city. I would imagine our city attorney takes some direction from you. The city administrator takes some direction from you. And what you guys vote on, and whether it's in resolution form or other form, would be the practice of the city. So if you want to just, when I leave here, blow them off, okay? But if that happens in the fall, it's not going to be pretty. I just say that because I really believe you're using that box as a ballot box. I suggested to the assistant clerk that day, put up a notice on the board like the other municipalities did. This is not a ballot box. People would walk up and walk away. I personally asked a couple of people that were putting in their absentee ballots when I was waiting out in the lot for the city hall to open, why they were using that as a ballot box. And he said he'd been putting them in there for 20 years. Well, that's bad. That is bad. Then I think you need to put some new wording on that deposit box that in no way, shape, or form is that a ballot box, and all ballots cast into the depository box would not be counted. They should not be cast.
You've got 10 seconds left of your 5 minutes.
I bring this to your attention, and I hope you will act on it. Any questions?
We can't discuss with you. That's what I said earlier.
You want my phone number, you can call.
We know where to find you. They went that way. Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? All right. Seeing none, we will close citizen participation and we will go to item F. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those room numbers are listed on the top of page 2 of your agendas. Item G is the mayor's report. I just have a few things this evening I want to touch on. First thing is earlier this afternoon, Alderman Haas and I attended a ribbon cutting for Viva Beauty Bar, and I hope you can tell how great we look tonight because of our visit. Just west of Highway 100 on Lincoln Avenue, they just opened up recently, and they provide all kinds of beauty services and massage services, eyebrows, eyelashes, and things I didn't even know what they were. So rather than try to describe them, I am just going to encourage you to check out their website at Viva, which is VEVA, beautybar.com. They have a location in Bayview, and they just recently opened up a location here in West Allis. I want to take a minute to congratulate Joe Becker, Rebecca Lee, and Jeff Sikich on their election to a 3-year term on the school board. And I also want to thank Bill Ustruck for his 6 years of service on the school board. And I also want to thank the clerks and all the poll workers that worked on the election Tuesday. It was a very long day, and their work is very much appreciated. And we are going to need poll workers going forward. So if anybody is out there who is looking to learn more about being a poll worker on upcoming election days, I believe that you have to be a Milwaukee County resident. And feel free to get in touch with me or the clerk or call your alderperson, and we'll get you to the right place if you'd like to volunteer in our democratic process. And the last thing is, you do get paid. It's not strict volunteer. The last thing is I do have a request from a resident, Mike Vecchio, who is most likely watching our meeting this evening, but I am asked to wish, through him, a very happy birthday, 91st birthday to Ella Vicchio, who also watches our meetings. I think I'm a little bit late, but happy 91st birthday. That does conclude the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick?
I move for approval of the minutes of March 15th, 2022 Common Council meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any changes, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Standing committee reports, license and health, Alderman Vitale, should we just do that one after recess?
Yes, we have item 4 and item 5.
We'll do it after recess?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll move to item K.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
there's no objection from any member of the council. I will move for approval of the consent agenda as it was presented.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Haas. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Lysick.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman
I
Lysick.
move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
There is a motion with a second by Alderperson Reinke. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in recess.
excuse. So we got 4 members of the license. All our what I know.
Okay.
Okay, so discussions. 22 License and Health Committee meeting against EKC Investment LLC, DBA Can Bar Grill by registered agent at Jones. Go ahead. You have any specifics?
No, I was caught off guard. I got a phone call at my residence on my private phone from an officer saying that there was numerous complaints
Yes.
about noise. And then the next day, I got an email from the city of West Allis saying I had to be here. No officer has ever showed up at my premises to complain about noise or check on there to see if there was noise or anything. They've been there to do a license check, and that was it. The only time that I had numerous people there was on the 26th, 25th of February.
Yeah.
We had a giant party there that was for veterans, to raise money for veterans. It was held by the MMGs. The police department drove by multiple times because we were outside, there's people out inside of the front of the building. They said the police are driving by. I said, that's fine. As long as we're, nothing's going on, we're being quiet, we're fine. If they come in here and say something, we'll have to change. Not once, until I got that phone call from an officer.
So
on
the
phone.
questions has been risen, the fact that people have called, complaining about the loud music,
I don't know how they can hear loud music. There's no windows on the back of the building.
But like I
There's
said,
no-
I'm not going to discuss what happened before, I don't think we're here for that, like
The
I said,
back
there's
door-
no report, there's no
Well, and from
written
what I-
violations.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for the future,
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
you kind of,
There is,
I'm telling you, you get warned about it.
oh, yeah.
If it happens, the police will be there. Well, then we can call you in.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Because if
I
you keep
understand both.
pre-existing, because we had problem with that before.
And that's what I heard. And so we
Yeah.
have that back door to the alley where the lady or the person.
Well, maybe perhaps you should maybe shut down that door. The door should be
It's locked.
only for emergency.
It's my only handicap entrance to
Well,
the
that's,
building.
like I said, that's fine, but then you gotta lock it. If
At
somebody
9
wants to
PM, it
come
gets
in.
locked every night.
Yeah.
At 9 PM.
So the door should not be open.
Oh, no, it's not wedged open at all, ever. It's open to where you can walk from the parking lot, get in, and go down the ramp into the building. But at 9 PM, we lock that door where you can go out, you can exit the building.
But for
you
the
cannot
future,
get in.
people should utilize the orchard side,
Yes,
really.
we have signs up
For the
on the door that say
motorcycles,
that.
and on and on. Because, like I said,
I
there's
am-
no reports of anything
No.
from the police department.
Yeah.
But the fact it is that I don't want to start all over again
Oh,
with the
no.
previous
I get it.
management, that they were calling constantly, finally,
No, we don't
it was
want that.
gone.
We
So
don't want that
hoping,
either. Yeah.
and I understand you seized that. I heard something, the music
Yeah.
went down, it was fine.
So,
But like
yeah,
I said, nothing, just as a friendly
Yeah, no,
approach,
Absolutely. And I had a bar before in the city of West Allis, the old colony. It was in a
Yeah.
neighborhood. I used to walk the
Sure.
neighborhood and pick up garbage and do all that. So I know how it goes being in a neighborhood.
Yeah, so-
Like I said, though, that back door gets locked at 9 PM every night. You can only exit the building that way into the parking lot, but it does not
Yeah, I
get
think
wedged
that's the
open.
best choices, really.
Yeah. And we have
Because,
signs on there that say, please be quiet, respect our neighbors, please use the orchard. the
I
street
mean, we have
door."
elderly people living,
Yep,
the apartments and the landmarks just as well, so.
I know. Trust me, I get a lot of them over as customers for our Fish Fry and Friday and stuff.
I'm
so-
done. Thank you for stopping in.
All right.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Yes, go ahead.
Chairman, please tell me, where's Kane's?
69th and Orchard, the old Tanner Paul. It's
Oh,
still
okay.
Tanner Paul. It's
And
still
that's probably,
American-
that's probably a good thing that I don't know where your bar is.
Why is that?
Well, because then we've been seeing you so often.
Oh,
You'd be in
nothing
front of
wrong
us,
with
you'd be
that.
sitting
Yeah.
4 feet from us.
There's
It's
nothing
a
wrong
good
with that.
thing.
We have fish fries on Fridays, It's not after work.
I know you do, yes.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You guys have a
Take
good
care of
night.
yourself. Sure, thank you for stopping in.
Yes, absolutely.
Alderman, you want to take over, or you want me to go through with the license?
If you're waiting, sorry.
Please.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're waiting for Alderman Weigel for item 30, maybe it's a good idea to just finish the license and
Sure,
health
that's
and
fine,
then.
sure, we'll
We
go
could do
back.
that, yes, I,
Well, I gotta ask my
because we're on a
boss.
roll now.
Yes.
I gotta ask him first. He's my boss.
Go ahead, Alderman Vitale. Carry on.
Okay, let's go on with item 33. 02022064, ordinance repeal and recreated the business licensee laws. So I believe we all, you know, was discussed, and I don't see any really thing to, I think we should move on to approve the, go ahead.
Sure. Are there any highlights you can share with us?
Sure. So the licensing laws under Chapter 9 were a very complex arrangement of licenses that in many cases were either obsolete or out of date with state law. There were inconsistent ways of disciplining licenses and issuing them. So what this tends to do, or what the intent is to create a unified application process and also a single revocation or suspension process where allowed by state law. And then for any licenses that are created by state law, we just simply adopt those laws rather than trying to copy and paste and reword them. There are many instances in which, in the current chapter of the laws, state law has been changed, but the ordinance was not changed, and so therefore there's a conflict in those two laws. Moving forward, we won't have that anymore because all we do is simply adopt the state law within our code.
So I'm glad it actually was changed, really, or improved.
My argument would be yes, it's improved because it's going to be easier to
Yes.
enforce, it's going to be easier to interpret later on, and it's also going to be easier to amend if the council does want to make changes, because every license follows the same format.
Yes.
And so if you wanted to add a restriction or some sort of regulation on something, there's only one place it could possibly be. So it's going to be a very easy code to interpret.
All right, thank you, Cal. On your motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
all in favor of the second?
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it. All right, now we move on to item 34. R-2022-0232, resolution amending fee schedule, retail food establishment fees, April 2022. So Bob is here. Bob, do you have any?
Good evening.
Sure, Bob.
So yeah, in front of you, you should have the resolution that speaks to, in particular, the retail food license fees that haven't been adjusted since 2017, so for 5 years to this point. And so then, in recognizing that that is one factor that's driving this proposed modification, and then two, we had been informed in months past, this past year, that our agent status in with regard to our relationship with the State Department of Ag Trade and Consumer Protection. The contract in particular was going to result in likely increases in the amount that we have to give back to the state. And so when we finally got the detail to that, we recognized that actually starting with 2023, they're going to start with a 1% increase, and then the subsequent year 2% increase, and these increases that go back to the state could be up to 20% over subsequent years. So so that's what really kind of prompted us to take a closer look at the retail fee schedule. And so we just did a comparison of kind of where we sit in relation to 17 other jurisdictions throughout the state, including Milwaukee, city of Milwaukee and immediate areas. And then did a very simple cost analysis of what it takes as far as time for our environmentalists to do these inspections at various restaurants. And so that essentially resulted in the proposed fee adjustments that you have in front of you.
Thank you, Bob, for the
Mr. Chair.
updates. Go ahead.
Also, I want to include that the Board of Health did approve this schedule.
On the motion, any more questions from
Move to approve.
Second.
all in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it. Thanks, Bob, for stopping in.
Certainly.
Then we move on to agenda item 35. 2022-03272, 2021-2023 new operator license, bartender Class D operator application for Maxwell Anderson. I believe she's not here, so I move for denial of the licensing based on the records.
This is the second time.
Second time.
Second
This is the
time,
second,
yes.
Thank you.
second.
So, and besides, there's a pattern here, so which I'm
Motion
not
to
too happy
deny.
about it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of denial?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye has it. All right, we move on to item 36, 2022, 2021, 2023 new operator license, bartender Class D operator, application for Elisa Karlek. But she's not here the way it looks, right?
This is the second.
Second time also? Motion
Yeah.
to deny.
Second.
All in favor of denial?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye has it.
Based on the record?
Yep.
Yeah. So we move on to item 37.
To appear.
Is 2022-0435, 2021-2023 new operator license, bartender Class D operator, application for Christine Deal. So I think I would like to, go ahead.
Hi.
Okay, Christina. I mean, you have some questions, that I would like to ask you.
Okay.
So what you did in 2023, this, 2021? 20,
What is the question?
2003.
I think you're looking at
Yeah, 2003.
20,
What's that?
2003 and 2019
Yeah.
charges? Okay.
Yeah, you had some OWI.
Yeah, yes,
So
I did.
what happened then?
I was in a bad spot in my life both times. I've learned my lesson.
Yes.
I now have a 10-month-old son. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm just looking to get back working part-time. I don't drink anymore. Definitely not when I'm
Good.
working.
I'm glad you're not. Any questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
where will you be working?
At Roscoe's, 68th and Beloit.
Okay. Are you allowed to drink there?
Yes,
You are allowed to drink.
I believe so. The bartenders, I see them having shots, but yeah, I won't drink on the job.
Okay.
Yeah, based on the records, I mean, I don't see really any impairment for not issuing the license. But then it's up to the committee members. Any more questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
You're welcome.
All right. Now we move on to item 38. Is 2022-0488, 2021, 2023, new operator license, bartender Class D operator application for Jamie Hest.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this item should have been issued, so I would ask that the committee recommend granting of
Yeah,
this.
I don't see anything really that she has. So,
Motion to approve.
seconds?
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Very good. We're moving along. 39, 2022-040, new application for second-hand article dealer for Michael Sani, DBA Mass Music, 1022 West Greenfield Avenue, PNSH 222. So is the gentleman here? It's not here. So what we do with that one?
This is the first non-appearance.
So we should, yeah, we could hold it,
Motion to hold.
to hold.
Second.
All in favor of the motion to hold it?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. All right.
Could I
Then-
ask a question, Mr.
Yes.
Chair? Christina, did she call in that she could not make it?
Are you talking about Jamie?
Jamie, I'm sorry.
We told her not to come because she shouldn't have been on the list.
I see. Okay. I just was wondering why.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Alderperson Rankin. So we move on to item 40. 2022-0462, Class B Tavern Seasonal Temporary Premises Extension and Temporary Public Entertainment Premises Permit Request for Riviera of Wisconsin, DBA Riviera Land 8600 West Greenfield Avenue from May 1st, 2022 to November 2022. Is the gentleman are here for item 40? Look like nobody's here.
Mr. Chair, I do have a problem with that because
Yes.
he's indicating every night. Every night.
Yeah, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Mr. Chair, we
Yeah.
also had asked them for more detailed information about where this was going to be located, a map with, including information about bar and boundaries and things like that, and we have not received that. So I don't know if you just want to hold it until they submit what we need them to.
Well, as a courtesy, but that's
I
up
would
to the
move to-
members, if you want to hold it. or just-
I'll make a motion to hold it until they provide the required items.
I'll second that because there's many questions regarding this location because as I indicated, he wants to have music every night or
Yeah, that's what it says.
the plans,
From May until,
right, on that would,
yeah.
basically, we don't know if the neighborhood would approve of something like this. And as I indicated, there's a lot of questions I would want to ask.
So the motion is to hold it?
Hold it.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it. Thank you. Then we move on to item 41, 2022-0487, Class B Tavern Seasonal Temporary Premises Extension Request for Joe Lynch, DBA Lynch, 2300 blocks South 108th Street, from May 1st, 2022 to September 30, 2022. I have no problem with that. Any questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair, basically, he didn't really give us any indication of when, is he going to have it every Saturday and, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Or is he going to have it some of these weeks? I mean, he really didn't give us any indication of these items. Don't we
Well, it's
need
up
a
to you guys, but
calendar
normally-
as far as
Mr. Chair.
when he plans on hosting?
The information that was submitted as part of the application has information for Sundays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Friday, Saturday,
So
and Sunday. Is it
there's-
every though?
There's no information that it wouldn't be every.
Well, that's what I
every-
mean. Aren't
yes.
they supposed to indicate which weekends they're going to have this?
You know,
I guess if the plan would be for them not to have it every weekend, we're not,
Mr. Chair,
They will have it from contemplate the
But we
live
don't
music
know
of
for
from
sure,
4
Mr.
p.m.
Chair.
to 10 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Just the Saturday and Sunday.
if someone doesn't send a schedule, they're requesting it for those dates for the entire time.
Right, every weekend then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, hold on.
haven't we been limiting places like Paulie's came here and we limited them
Always
To-
wasn't limited.
to their times that
No.
they're doing it, or was it they just specifically said these dates?
They were the ones
They
that.
have specific dates,
Yes.
like
Okay.
30,
And now this one is
unusual
asking
number.
every Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the whole.
Right, they're not
Okay.
distinguishing specific dates.
Okay.
Yeah, just 3 days.
He did call me, and I ended up directing him, but he stated he wasn't gonna have it every weekend, but he didn't know what ones he wasn't going to.
Who's he?
Mr. Lynch.
Okay.
But he didn't know, like, not during the fair, not during this, but he didn't know what ones to put, so he just applied for them all.
Gotcha.
Is there anybody from Lynch's here tonight?
No.
I don't go there, so I don't know what they look like, okay?
But we,
I do have somewhat of a problem, him not indicating which weekends he's going to have it, because I have gotten a couple of complaints from the neighborhoods, especially in the surrounding neighborhoods, I'll just put it that way, of the music.
but never was any police
so
report,
loud.
right? And There was any police report, just the loud music.
Right.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I could suggest some courses of action. If you wanted to hold this item and invite the applicant to come in
Yes.
to explain it, we could do that.
Sure, that'd be great. That's fine.
Or if you want to impose some sort of restriction, you can just simply do that. You know, you don't need to have the applicant participate in that. If he doesn't like the restriction, he doesn't get the extension. Either way is fine.
Well, I really want to cooperate because I don't
There's a
re-
meeting on the 18th. It would be plenty of time before May 1st.
Okay, bring him in.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yes.
In part of the application, they have to still keep it under 100 decibels. for
Right,
our-
all those
for our-
reasons.
every-
Ordinances.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
we do have
So-
that, don't we?
Right.
Yeah.
They have
Noted.
to,
There are standard rules that apply to every outdoor premises, no matter who they are. So it's, no glass, 100 decibels, 100 feet. Bordering has to be marked, lighting inside, and closing hours, you have to close at 10 PM.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine that Mr. Lynch can come forward, next time. Okay, we just.
So make
Bring
a
him in on the 18th, that was the
yeah,
date, right?
18, it'll be fine, you know.
Some sort of plan and details.
Motion to hold and table.
I don't think we need an emotion, we just
Right.
hold it.
It would be held if no one makes a motion. It would be held.
I mean, we can make an emotion or
I
just,
thought it was the 19th,
is it the 19th?
I'm sorry, I heard that
Yeah.
wrong.
so
Well, let's
the
do
motion
that.
postponed to the 19th would be in order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to postpone until the 19th.
second?
Second,
All in favor to hold it until the 19th?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The aye have it. All right, we move on to the last
We did that
item.
one already.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor of second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it. You gotta run.
Okay. We'll call
Okay.
Public Works to order, noting that 4 are here, 1 is not. Started with item 24, resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of the north-south alleyway between 113th, South 113th and South Wilmer in West Ohio to Wildwood Lane, and north-south, east-west alley between 74th to 75th Street to West Lapham, to West National, by removal of reconstruction of the concrete alley pavement.
Motion to approve.
second,
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Then we drop down to item 25, resolution adopting the vacation and discontinuance of portion of public right-of-way north of West National Avenue and southwest of South Waukesha Road.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Thank you for answering my question. Is this right away located on a road, on Waukesha Road?
No,
It was hard to view.
so Waukesha Road is up here. It's down here. Yeah, there you go.
Right in the middle of their lot.
Or is it in the middle of the land?
It's in the middle.
No.
It was a future road. It was going to be a future road. There's going to be a system of roads back
So
there.
there is no access to
No.
this parcel?
No.
Okay. I thought if it was
No.
off the road.
Yeah, it's
it's not.
3 parcels now, so,
It's well off the road.
yeah, it's way off the road.
So here's Waukesha Road.
It's about 400 feet from
This is the
Waukesha.
But there's no
69
access from Waukesha Road.
No.
I
That's pretty
see.
deep.
No,
Yeah.
unless you cross
It's
one of the other lots.
Then what I wanted to ask you further. Okay. Thank you.
Could be a helicopter pad.
It is a truly obscure situation.
Okay. There you go.
Too many trees around it. Too many trees around it.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
We have a motion in a
Yeah,
second.
I did. I did the motion.
Oh, it's been moved and seconded,
Yep.
and we had our discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Good luck. Now you have,
We're happy taxpayers.
okay, wow. Final resolution, or item 26, excuse me, resolution 2022-0175, final resolution authorizing public improvement by removal and reconstruction of the concrete alley pavement in the north-south alley between South 113th and South Walmer Road, West Ohio to West Wildwood Lane, and north-south and east-west alley between South 74th and South 75th, West Lapham to West National Avenue, and levying special assessments against benefited properties.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 27, resolution to approve bid of Lalonde Contractors, Inc. for street construction in Washington Street from 84th to 86th Street and South 77th from West Hicks to West Beecher Street in the city of West Allis in the amount of $1,328,296.50.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 28, resolution to approve bid of, I'm just going to guess, Massimone.
Maceman.
Well, sure, that's the other way I've heard it pronounced too. Just the way I like to pronounce it, okay? Yeah, okay, enough, knock it off now. Okay, and Sons for the residential property demolition at 1475 South 94th Street in the city of West Allis in the amount of $16,325, and I understand that is block grant money paying for that?
Yes.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 29, communication from city engineer regarding the WISDOT bid opening for the installation of new traffic signals at 3 intersections, 76th and Beecher, 92nd and Lincoln, and 60th in Greenfield.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Sure.
Alderman Stefanski.
What are they doing? Like, what kind of new, are they doing something?
Each one's a little different. So 92nd and Lincoln, they're completely reconstructing the road from 91st to 93rd.
Right, I remember
And
that.
putting new signals in.
Okay.
So they're actually being special assessed. 76th and Beecher, they're putting in new signals. We're also doing a little bit of sewer work and doing a very quickie resurface.
Okay.
And then 60th and Greenfield is really just putting in some new signals that are state-of-the-art, which hopefully will reduce accidents.
Yeah, the one I was really wondering about was 76 and Beecher, because that's like right there, and I'm like, what's wrong with it?
Also, may I add, on 76 and Beecher is going to be the intercept lights, right? Or the, whatever, lets the fire department go.
Yes.
So they got the white
they'll
lights on
have
them so they
the-
can
yeah.
Okay.
stop them for cross traffic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I quite honestly don't know if there's a motion on the floor.
Make a motion to place on file.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And last is item 30, discussion on 2022-0484, discussion on possible vacation of alley north of Greenfield Avenue between 74th and 75th Street and redivision of land to establish new alleyway. And we have Alderman Weigel here who would like to discuss with us, and along with, oh, we have video too. Oh, nice.
Mr. Chair?
And please,
Thank you.
actually a still.
Still, yeah.
Yep, just a still for this one, but there's a little bit of issue with the alleyway behind the Noble Senior Living, Double B's, and the Cocos, where if you look where my mouse is going here, the actual existing alley is right here, this width, about 20 feet. It goes west until it gets around this corner of the building of Noble Senior Living, heads directly south along the building until it bumps into Double B's building, and then heads west right behind the Cocos, but here's where the pavement actually stops. So if you're a vehicle trying to get through the alley, if you stay in the alley, you can't get past here, you're done. This is still right of way, but it's a sidewalk. There is a north-south alley between 74th and 75th that serves the residential properties north of Greenfield Avenue. That does come down here and it meets up, but again, there's pavement right here. So if you take in the alleyway, you're stuck right here. This is actually it's private property, it's fee simple property, but it's owned by the city. And so there's a parking lot right here. This is also owned by the city, it's also a parking lot. There are lease agreements right now with the city and various entities, including the post office and Noble Senior Living. But this parcel actually extends all the way out to here, and then comes across and goes back up. There's this like little flag that comes out all the way across, whereas the alley is here. So this is technically fee simple city-owned property, not a right-of-way. If you've ever been back here driving or seen it, the way people actually use this area is they come through here, they take a right, just like this car is doing, and they go through here. That's how everyone who wants to use it as an alley uses it. No one actually uses the real dedicated right-of-way. Now the right-of-way is causing a little bit of a problem because right now Noble Senior Living actually stores their dumpsters in the right-of-way, and they do so using a privilege. So they're doing it legally, and they've done it for a long time, but it's not generally good practice to have a permanent solution to something like dumpsters in the right-of-way. We don't really do that, and we try to avoid that if all possible. And then also, another issue is that Double B's restaurant here, their property lines essentially go right along the building. They have zero unimproved land. Everything has a building on it. And they currently have outgrown that building. I know it's one they just purchased, but they have outgrown it. They need more space to store things like smokers and other stuff. Micoco's is also a new business, or newer business, and they have an outdoor dining area back here, but in speaking with the owner, he's not opposed to increasing that availability to have that outdoor dining space, or even adding some sort of parking or dumpster storage or something back here. And the Noble Senior Living folks actually have these dumpsters right here in the right-of-way that if there's a possibility, they would like to put those on property that is not obstructing a right-of-way. So there's been some contention among these owners in the past, which I normally do not get involved with, but because it involves a city right-of-way and there might be an opportunity to fix a very odd layout within the city right-of-way, I decided that I'm going to try to kill two birds with this stone. So I contacted all the owners and tried to see what their interests were, what their issues were with this, and proposed this as a solution. And everything I talked to them about, I said, this is all going to be contingent upon the council agreeing with it. So there's 4 parties involved. And so tonight is the night where I contact the 4th party, you guys. So in this proposal, what I'm suggesting we do is we vacate the right-of-way and then establish a new right-of-way where this black box is. Leave this as private property so it can be leased. And then in this process, extending Noble Senior Living's property up about 10 feet and then about 9 feet west of their building all the way down to here. They have a door right here that they use. That's why it extends that way. Then take Double B's property. They have a door right here, so that's why they need that space. And extend out where the orange box is. And then take the Micoco's property and extend it to where you see this blue trapezoidal type figure. What it would do is it would increase this as private property for those 3 property owners and make this the right-of-way reflecting how people actually use that right-of-way. This solves a couple issues. One would be it increases private property to solve the Double B's issue. It also allows Noble Senior Living to move their dumpsters to the other side of the building to make them more accessible and store them right here. It also provides a spot on private property for Noble Senior Living's delivery trucks. They get a lot of daily food delivery because they serve to the residents, that they can park their semi here, unload, walk down this private path, and load them right into the building. It'd be a very convenient, dedicated path for them to use. Otherwise, they have to park their trucks somewhere around here, and it can create a traffic conundrum for them. Micoco's, again, would extend their private property out to here, and create more private property for them, which they can use in any way that the zoning code allows them to use it. The other thing this allows Double B's to do is actually move their dumpsters out to here and have them here facing west, so that when the dump truck comes, it can go like this, go straight in, dump over the top, back out, and leave. Macoco's, the way I've got it designed, would have also a 16-foot long line here for their dumpsters, so that a dump truck could come from here, pick up, scoop, back up, and be gone. It's a lot easier than what's currently going on, I guess, because this is a congested area where trucks are parking and dumpsters are getting in the way, and they're actually all driving over city land to do this, that they don't have a legal right to do because it's not right of way. So the idea would be to create a situation in which how it's currently being used would become legal. The other benefits, I guess, would be these parcels would become taxable property as opposed to right of way. The downside would be the city would no longer have control over this area. It would be private property and would still have control over the area it always has had control over. Talk to the property owners. There's a few contingencies that they'd like to see in order to make this happen, but ultimately I'd eventually like to propose a four-way agreement in which everyone signs agreeing to this is how the land will be divvied up, because by state law, if we just vacate this right of way, it gets split down the middle, resulting in land going partially to the south and north, west and east here, north and south here, and it wouldn't solve the issues that we're talking about. So that's my suggestion today. I'm bringing it to the committee because in order to actually get into drafting this more than just drawing pictures, I would like to know what the committee's position is, if this is a viable solution that you see for this area.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Stefanski.
quick question. So Noble's dumpsters,
Yep.
if that other area is for semis, where are those dumpsters going?
So this area, it's tough because the building is so tall that it's actually extending out farther north on the picture than it looks.
Oh, okay.
The base of the building is actually currently several feet away. But by doing this, what it does is it creates, there's a sort of an emergency staircase that you can't really see given the angle of the photo, but it sticks out about 8 feet. So the dumpsters would actually go next to that and adjacent to the building, right on this side. And the reason they would have it there as opposed to here is because it would be part of the deal as they're going to get extra land to use, and we would ask them to get their dumpsters on private property because now there's actually a place for them to put that, because this extension of private land gives them enough room where they can put them on private property and it doesn't interfere with how they would use this private property either.
And then my next question is, if this becomes private property, can they basically do whatever they want with that property? So like, can somebody park a food truck there permanently? Can somebody park vehicles behind Macoco's or behind Double B's permanently, like, you know, on a daily basis all day long?
Yes, I'm assuming the zoning code would allow that as an accessory use for parking.
But at nighttime,
Yes.
during, when business hours are done,
It would
they
be-
can still do it?
It'd be private land at that time, yes.
Okay.
You're proposing giving him the land?
Well, that's part of the discussion. There's nothing in the statute that requires payment, but the city is gonna probably incur some costs as a result of doing this. And so I would suggest recouping those costs and anything else that you believe is worth collecting
And then-
because there's certainly value in this land.
And then what about a dumpster enclosure out there?
Yeah, so.
There will be.
The agreement would have to be structured in a way where all the parties commit to whatever the city's requests are. So screening of dumpsters is something we require normally anyway. So we would do this exact same thing and say, if you're gonna put it here, this is how this is gonna go. You have to pay for the screening right here. You have to pay for the screening right here. You have to pay for the screening here. That would be part of this agreement.
And I also thought that there's something with a city sewer or something underneath there, correct?
Yes. So there are, you can see, I think it's this box, and there's one somewhere over here, I believe, somewhere. So this going straight south and this going straight south go all the way to the building, and so no permanent improvements could be built on top of those areas. And that'd also be part of the agreement. It wouldn't be part of the agreement, it'd be an easement that we would record against the property to make sure that forever it would never be built upon.
And We Energies would have easement, I guess, too, for that.
Yes, yeah. We Energies has a large power pole right around here somewhere that they would also have easement rights to utilize and continue to utilize.
And we're doing this kind of because they're squatting right now on our alley, correct? With their grills and everything like that out there?
I believe.
And maybe squatting isn't the right word, but that's the only one I know.
I think they have a temporary occupancy privilege to utilize it, but that's not permanent, and it's not a good solution to the issue.
Okay.
And you know, if they're gonna stay in this location, it's just not good practice to have them utilize right of way for a business purpose like that.
Alderman Weigel, please.
So a couple things. Kale said that we're trying to get dumpsters out of the right of way. The rest of the downtown dumpsters are essentially sitting in the right of way. So that's, you know, I understand this is better than that. I guess this is the first time I've seen this. And does this, what if, and honestly, this is a perfect picture. This shows what the problem is. This is an older picture. This is Double B's stuff. This is Double B's food truck. This actually looks like a demo dumpster, you know. And these are all Double B's vehicles that were all parked in our right of way and even infringing on this area here, that if you kind of drew a line. We had a meeting in the alley last fall to talk about this, and some promises were made. I think he did say that he's selling his food truck. Doesn't seem like that's what he's done. So I think we'd imagine the food truck staying here. Does this only work, Kale? Would this work if this property's not part of it?
How so?
Well, I did talk to this property owner, and I don't know if he'd be amenable to buying. I can't speak for him specifically. We didn't, honestly, I don't think we give it away. Clearly the last vacation we did was a wooded property in the middle, that had no access, really no value to anybody but the neighbors. But this is real commercial property. And I would not say that Double B's outgrew their space. From day one, they were squatting with their kitchen equipment in our right of way. So that was from day one. They didn't outgrow that. They did that from day one. So, and this doesn't solve some of the other issues in the neighborhood. I believe if the smokers are going to stay outside rather than go inside under the hood like they were in the original plan, that there's some sort of enclosure needs to be built around it. I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer. But you're telling me that, is this touchy? I can touch on this?
I don't know.
So you're saying that from somewhere here down here, there's a spot where nothing can be built. But still, he's got these two big smokers that are going to have to be built in some sort of enclosure. These people are not happy with the smell, okay? It was one thing when the smoker was over here and it got moved, the distance was essentially halved from this building, when you move the smokers over here. I do like this conceptually, but I don't think it's solving all of our problems, I don't know what the next step is. Does this all have to go to Plan Commission for review?
I assume it would, because it's gonna be a CSM and.
Yeah, CSM and probably the vacation of right of way,
It's a vacation and a dedication at the same time.
So do we know, is this gonna trigger any other site improvements connected? Oftentimes when something goes to Plan Commission, I'm gonna guess both of these properties have recently approved site and landscape plans. I'm not sure about Noble.
Noble does, but,
There's always some touch-up.
In their case, they probably have the fewest changes other than, relocation of dumpsters and maybe some of those, a tree or something.
I'm thinking about the rest of the building or land. I mean, they're built out, there's not much else out there.
Right, so the biggest site changes I think that you would see would, like right off the bat, probably be the orange parcel, the Double B's. And then, if Mr. Bunker wanted to do something to his
If you wanted to
property,
expand his patio
put
or
up a
something.
fence or who knows, but that would be, slight changes would come before Plan Commission.
Okay,
Right.
so conceivably, this property owner could put a fence here. We'd talk about dumpster enclosure here, and there could be a fence here. There could be a fence all the way down here to there, conceivably. Right.
Yes, and Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay.
So, yes, they could. However, because this is one of those arrangements where we are doing a complete discontinuance, then reestablishment, plus dividing parcels in a way where the state law would not require us to divide them, all of these things could be included within that agreement. So, for example, that was one of the...
We could include requirements, and we could also include prohibitions with it. Let's say we decided, again, this is the first time I've seen this, and I haven't spoken to any of the principals about this, yes, definitely want a fence there, no, definitely don't want a fence.
Yeah, so there's a number of ways of doing it. One, by agreement, you could require them to do certain things. So one of Noble's concerns was, when I spoke with them, was the smokers.
Yes.
And so there are filters that you can install on a smoker to significantly reduce any type of odors that escape it. And I've actually already talked to Little Bees about that, and they seemed open to installing those filters as a part of this agreement. And on top of that, if you want to prohibit fencing or limit it in some way that the code doesn't already limit it, we could, in this process, also by either contract or by easement, restrict them from using the property or building something in certain places, just like we're going to restrict them from building on top of the pipes that are going in. So the beauty of this is that it's very wide open as to what you want this to look like. It's like a site landscape, except it's even more detailed than that. And it's all because we are apportioning land in a different way, which basically makes this a complete contractual thing.
I guess one of the things that concerns me is that this doesn't seem like a quick solution.
It would take some time,
Okay.
but it would be a permanent solution.
And from the agreement that we had last fall, this property owners, we talked specifically about them not having stuff west of this line, so that any of his stuff that he had in back would be directly north of his building, so like not impinging on this area here. But you go by there every day, you see his smokers are here, he's got 3 55-gallon drums for used frying oil, he's got a stack of wood, and he consistently has stuff over here behind his neighbor. And the neighbor's not happy about it, the property owner's not happy about it. So there's a concern that enforcement, that if the food truck comes back, there'll be days when the food truck will be trespassing here, And I guess that's a question someone's gonna have to call for enforcement.
Well, if they put a fence up, he wouldn't be able to get the food truck in there.
Well, the food truck, he could leave a gate here and he could park the food truck. Well, he might not even put a fence here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might,
But I'm saying McCoco's separates his part.
yeah.
Then,
McCoco's could put a fence here.
yep,
Again, that's gonna be an expense, well, I'm gonna guess it's gonna fall on the property owner,
right.
So I don't know what the property, again, this is the first time I've seen this plan. I'm glad Bob is here. What are the health department
Yeah,
requirements for the smokers?
Yep, so they are, the extra land is nice, but it's not gonna solve the compliance issues that we are now working with them on. So the smokers, it's more than just a squatting issue. I mean, the way they are now set up, they are not in compliance. So that's one thing that we need for them to really understand is with the agreement, to potentially extend their land, they have to do this, they have to do that, to include the exhaust, that ideally is gonna go above Noble. And so we've given them recommendations, health department has, and we're just waiting for them to comply with it. The excess land is nice, but they really need to get in compliance, so that would be part of it.
When did you start telling them to get in compliance?
Back in,
It's been a while.
yeah, back in the fall.
And it precedes that as well.
Was it? Okay.
So they're pretty much disregarding us?
Mr. Chair.
Safe to say?
They're trying to reconcile.
Okay, he said first.
Okay, just real quick, I just wanted to, and it's not just the smell from Noble, it's the smoke. Because the people who are managing that building pulled me aside and they said the biggest problem is the smoke getting into that building. And that's what they're most concerned with, and more than the smell.
Okay.
Do both of these businesses have patio areas?
No.
No, they don't? Okay.
McCoco's does currently, which ends about here, because you can see the food trucks parked here. Double B's has no outdoor dining currently.
Oh, they don't?
Yeah.
They got smokers back there.
Yeah. Well, and they don't have this isn't their property.
Right.
This is an alley, I don't believe, we had talked about doing a pedlet on the front. They weren't really interested in the past, but my understanding is the other Greenfield Avenue pedlets are not happening this year because this changes in the state rules have made it very onerous to put a pedlet out on a state highway as we've had them in the past.
Right.
So is it banned or is it just more expensive?
They haven't told us. Actually, Sue too, what is it?
Sue plus two.
They just kind of.
I talked to Jose, he said he's not gonna,
Yeah,
and
and
Debbie's not gonna do it. Debbie's not
So
gonna
they
do it.
didn't want to do it. So it wasn't really because of the state, but
Camino's still on it though.
they did talk about it.
Camino
I
wants
guess.
to, Casey talked to me about it, he wants to. I've seen parklets on Highway 32 in Bayview, so That's a state highway, KK
They
is.
told me we were the only ones in southeast Wisconsin.
Well, then you gotta drive down Highway 32.
I
and
see them all the time down there. My dad lives down there. They're there all the time.
And they have a cargo container sitting in the street.
Okay, well, that last year where they were letting it be just because of COVID,
Yeah.
but they have not given us an answer. We've been asking. You know, they're trying. The Secretary of Transportation has to make a decision on this or something. I don't know. They have not told us what they're going to do.
Okay.
So that might be a solution for outside thing. Again,
Absolutely.
this is the first time I've seen this. I'm gonna have to digest this and talk to at least the property owner I speak to regularly. You've been reaching out to Noble there in New York, right?
Yeah, so they're in New Jersey, but I've spoken to all the owners here. I got the lease detail from Bunker. He just basically said, look, as long as it doesn't cost me any money, I don't care. He didn't seem that interested in it. He didn't seem opposed to it. Double Bs, they need this to happen to function because their current solution is not a good permanent solution. Noble actually has an attorney I've worked with many times who does a really nice job, and they basically already have developed conceptually this walkway leading to a ramp that a truck could park here to make offloading food super easy. So in their mind, they like the idea of how functional this makes their property. So the real issue is more, is this something that the committee is interested in? Do you want me to try to put some things together, and what sort of conditions do you want on it? I've already heard from the adjacent property owners, so one of Noble's conditions is a filter on the smokers. Talking to Lindy from Health, she was saying that there are enclosures around the smokers to be made, plus the filter, plus certain distances from other improvements, plus some other restrictions. She honestly knows it better than I do what it is, and I would just, part of it would be comply with the orders that are issued by Health. If there is interest in restricting fencing or requiring fencing, or however the council wants to proceed, I would include that in my initial circulation of terms with all the parties.
I'd like to say this seems like a great solution, assuming it turns into a 100% solution, and that there's some sort of hold, whether it's a bond. I'd like to see a high bond. I'd like to see a time limit on it. I don't want this thing to drag out another year. You know, it seems like it's a great idea. I would not be in favor of us giving this land away. I guess what we're looking at is a sale, not a lease, you know, however we quantify the value of that. I don't know how many people would be interested in I don't know if Noble and 7420, which is the west property, would be interested in having to spend money to help solve the problem for 7412.
So when it comes to the money side of things, I'd recommend that I at least get a term sheet out to them and leave that question open, and then because it involves bargaining and, you know, potential expenditure of public money that needs to be recuperated, we could do that in closed session to figure out what that would be. But at this point in time, I'm much more looking at the large concept as to whether I should create a term sheet.
Find an answer, or they can help find it.
And with bonding and things, those are all things that the city could require. Anything's on the table right now, so I just want to.
And as long as they become in compliant, that's a must.
Yes,
That's
that's
a
the
must.
goal.
That is 100% the goal.
Yeah.
One of the goals. One of several.
Right, would they be dragging it out just so they could just keep their smokers out
We can
there?
put a time limit on it and say, if you don't comply, you're done. Simple as that, right? We can do that, can't we?
So
Well, I don't think we want to, but we.
So there, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So if there are a couple ways to do it. One, you could use the hammer, where we already are probably in a position where we could issue citations or orders against them from a health perspective. And it's not like a dangerous food situation as much as it is, the situation is potentially, it could be dangerous for food, and it's enough, that's what health codes are all about, is preventing even the possibility of any contamination.
Or the nuisance
It's
from
a
all the
nuisance.
smoke and everything going into the senior living.
Which is also an issue, so.
Right.
So in doing this, to guarantee compliance, you can either use the hammer side of things, including court and other things like that, or you can do something like collecting a bond of a certain amount and having deadlines, and if deadlines are met, then you get your bond returned. If not, your bond is forfeited over time. So it's a surety bond is what it would be called. So there are ways to arrange it in a way where there are deadlines and where you would get compliance and there'd be real, actual punishment for non-compliance. Those are all the terms I would probably rather discuss in closed session on a later date.
Okay.
But what I'm looking for right now is just if the committee would want me to do so, I would put together a term sheet saying, Mr. Bunker, this is what you have to do. Mr. Timber, this is what you have to do. Nobles Freeman, this is what
Bunker
you
is
have
to the
do.
west, Timber is to the east.
Yep, so I would say, these are all your punch list of what we need from you. Would you agree to these things if this was the final outcome? And that's what I would present to all the parties, if the committee instructs me to do so.
I think
I
that's
think
the way to go.
that's a good idea.
Is the hammer in there at all, or not in this part?
The hammer's hanging
The
already.
Hammer's hanging.
the hammer's kind of already always there.
Well,
That's there right now.
maybe we should start once in a while using it.
Yeah.
There is that option.
Okay.
My purpose here tonight, at least, I'm not the prosecutor right now for the city. I'm trying to solve a neighborhood issue as well as solve a city right-of-way issue at the same time. And that's the only reason I'm involved in this. I normally would never get involved in something like this, but I just saw an opportunity for a way to create winners around as opposed to just hammer someone. So that's why I'm presenting it first.
When do you sleep, Cam? All the stuff that you are doing.
Why do you think I'm like, my wife's got a flu and I gotta wear this mask in public again? This is stupid, but I'm just trying to do what I can do.
Are you, go ahead, Steve Scher, planning.
Thank you. I was just going to say that without this, I mean, without the additional land or the, the structure that's created by, these lot extensions, we're issuing like a grant of privilege, which.
Or an encroachment
Or
almost.
an encroachment,
Yeah.
like an encroachment permit, and it just, to me, this is much more potential for being much more well-defined. So, in my opinion.
So are you two gentlemen happy with the situation?
I'm so far,
Well,
yeah.
not having spoken to the other
Yeah.
parties yet. Yeah, this makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's a good idea to work on.
Makes sense.
And that is all I'm doing right now. So these are the proposed term sheets. I'll just send them out to their parties and get their interest and see if they have anything that they.
And work
want
with
to add.
Alderman Stefanski and Weigel.
I don't know when this closed session meeting might be, but I'll be gone the last 2 weeks of April.
Oh, that's when we're doing it.
I'll make sure that they understand that it would be happening in May then.
We'll make sure you're here. Write that down.
Otherwise,
Last
you're
2
gonna have
weeks.
to phone in. then you're gonna-
Okay, so we'll just, is there a motion to place that on file?
Just a discussion.
Yeah, just a discussion.
No need for a motion on that one. It would just be.
Okay,
You ain't no motion.
So now I
Okay, all
guess
right, quit
motion
yelling.
to adjourn.
okay, you like that one.
Second.
Yeah.
Is it, motion to adjourn, is there a second?
I,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Now your turn, Leslie.
yeah,
It's your turn, Rosalinda.
gotta find where I am. Okay, advisory come to order. Let the minutes reflect 4 members are present, Alderman Grissom being excused. Number 43, as I understand, okay, division ordinance to readjust ward boundaries due to the state redistricting of congressional districts. Could you explain a little bit?
Sure. I should have pulled this up faster. I wanted to have it ready to roll.
I'm sorry, yes.
But basically, what happened was the state, we
Is
did all
this
of our.
required? An ordinance?
Yes, so, I'll try to shorten it, but the state, we did our wards timely, as much as we could. We did them I thought, very well. Everything's all set up. But after we did that, the state had to impose its Assembly, Senate, and U.S. congressional lines upon the city. Not unusual, it happens every 10 years. In this case, the state could not agree to it, so it went to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They selected a particular map that's presented by the governor. That then went to the Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court actually rejected the stateside map of the Assembly and Senate, but approved the congressional lines. So bifurcating what had been already presented. So all we have right now that's legally imposed is the U.S. congressional districts, the 8 districts of Wisconsin. In this proposed map, one of the districts' lines cuts right down West Allis, but not in a nice straight line. So, that's what I'm trying to get to our.
Jeez.
Let's see, where's our legislature? I just figured it'd be easiest to do this.
They just know how to screw things up, don't they?
It would have been a lot nicer. They could have been a lot nicer to us. Let's see here. So if I go to that one, it just is easier to show this way. All right, so The red line is the U.S. congressional line separating the 4th and 5th districts.
Are you kidding me?
So, as you can tell, when we did our wards, we drew pretty nice straight lines following railroads and streets, and I was very particular about how I did that for the ease of administration and explanation, creating nice, as best we could, easy to identify aldermanic districts and wards. The state has thrown me a curveball on that one. So, what happened was this red line separates the 4th and 5th, which now means that we have to create new wards. What I'm proposing in this one is that when we did there was a statewide presentation. I'm trying to finish this quickly, but it's a long story. There was a statewide presentation on how you're supposed to do this, and the state person was essentially saying everything that was created as a result of this is its own ward now. So the minimum number of wards, or maximum number of wards, I should say, are created was 5 different wards. This would be its own little ward because it was carved out of 12. Jeez. This would be its own little ward carved out of 11. This would be its own ward carved out of 11. This little space west of about 99th and east of the interstate, which is like one street in both houses, would be its own ward. And then this was split down the middle. This is actually fine. I'd rather the whole thing be that way because I don't know why they didn't just draw the line right up 92nd Street, because that would have been ideal. We wouldn't have had to change a thing, except, well, I guess we would have cut these two, but that would have been manageable. Instead, rather than create those 5 little sliver districts, what I'm proposing is that we actually join those districts with adjacent wards to create only 2 new wards. 26 and 27 would be created as a result of this. This little sliver would join 20, this little sliver would join 11, this little sliver would also join 11, and this piece would join 13. So, I'm bringing it up because we are required to do this by April 10th by state law. However, we will not have state lines by April 10th, so we're not going to comply with it no matter what, because we can't. But the congressional one is valid, is upheld, so my recommendation is that we comply with it to the extent we legally and possibly can, and that is by adopting some division ordinance tonight in order to comply by April 10th with this portion of it. There are some communities that are not doing this, I think. They're just going to do them all at once. And that's because when the state does come down with new lines, we'll have to do this again. So, any questions on this?
Madam Chair.
Okay.
I don't have a question, but I want to go on record while we're on the air. State, get your heads out of your butts and do your job right.
And if I may, ma'am, that little finger, that's the railroad tracks?
That little one there. What sense did that make?
What was that sigh?
I put a lot of effort into making a nice looking map, and I don't know if there are any houses between this street and the railroad track.
Well, there's homeless people along there.
Yeah, but
why would you extend this out to 84th or wherever the hell this is?
That's right.
And then jut it
That
right
was
back?
kind of my question. I'm going,
That's a very valid question. The same one. I'm not sure. All the maps were created basically in secret, so I don't know what the justification is for any of these lines at all. So I wish I could explain it to you.
Okay.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I guess, right now, we've got no other choice. I'm going to make a motion to approve it.
The only other choice is if you want to go with what the state has recommended is creating 5 wards instead of just 2. You could do that. My interpretation.
You thought the 2 was easier.
My interpretation of the statute is that we are legally allowed to do this because it says we can do as required. So I'm interpreting that as a subjective word, meaning what the city deems to be required. So if the council says this is what's required, I would be happy to argue that later on at some point in time.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why this is my preferred option. I'd recommend this one. And the state might be mad at me, the county might be mad at me for recommending this because it's not exactly what their top people said. But I think we should try this.
We don't care. Motion to approve.
It's been moved.
I'll second
Is
it.
there a second? Moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
I mean, that's unrealistic.
I mean, it has to be done by April 10th, you said.
That's what the statute says, yes.
It's 3 days.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Number 44. Is this kind of the same?
So this was a placeholder in case the state came up with something before the meeting today, I would ask you to postpone this till the next meeting.
Put it on hold?
Okay.
Just, we'll have to do it eventually.
Okay.
So I would just ask to postpone this item until the.
Okay,
next
will
council
do.
meeting.
Motion to hold it until the next meeting.
I'll
It's
second.
been moved, and is there a
I'll
second?
I did.
All those in favor
Aye.
of holding
Aye.
it? Against? Passed. Okay. 45, appointment of David Kay and Ed Lozinski to the Historical Commission.
I don't know about that Ed guy. You know. Maybe we should question
He's
that
back.
one.
He'll be back.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion adjourned.
Oh,
You got it this time. Second.
Ed seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
you were quick.
You were racing.
Let's call the common council back to order. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Here.
Keen. Here. Lysick.
Here.
Ranky.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Excused.
9 present, 1 excused.
Still have a quorum. We will begin with the Administration and Finance Committee.
The Administration and Finance Committee recommended passage of item number 19, adoption of items 20 and 21, placing on file item 22, and approval of item 23.
Mayor Devine, I move for approval of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Haas. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Next up, we have the Public Works Committee.
The Public Works Committee recommended adoption of items 24 through 28 and placing on file item 29.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Rote. Are there any questions, any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries. Thank you. And then next up is the Public Works Committee. We just did a Safety and Development Committee.
The Safety and Development Committee recommended approving and placing on file item 31 and passage of item 32.
Mayor Devine, I move for approval of the committee report.
Thanks, Alderman Lysick. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries. And then we have the License and Health Committee.
I'm ready, Mr. Mayor.
Let's roll.
Keep rolling.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I'm going to read out item number 5 separately.
Sure.
Okay. The License and Health Committee recommended continuing to hold item 4, passage of item 33, adoption of item 34, denial of items 35 and 36 based on the police report, granting item 37 and 38, and holding items 39 through 41.
Thank you. The License and Health Committee moved for approval of the licensee and applications were presented to us. Mr. Mayor, I should move for approval.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman
Can you
Rowe.
separate out item 5 after we do the block vote here? Okay.
Correct. Sure.
Thank you.
If there is no discussion, then I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries. And then we have item 5.
The License and Health Committee recommended granting item number 5.
I should move for approval,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? There's no discussion. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
No.
Stefanski.
No.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
7 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 excused.
Oops.
I'm sorry.
I jumped the motion. Motion carries. Sorry. I forgot about the excused. And then lastly, we have the Advisory Committee.
The Advisory Committee recommended passage of item 43, holding item 4, and approval of item 45.
Mayor Devine, I move for approval of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderperson Reinke. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 excused.
Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Mayor Devine. I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, April 19th at 7 PM.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.